Here's how I turned other people's trash into $10,000. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I am a part-time reseller on Poshmark. So today I wanted to make a video on showing you how you can get inventory for free and you can make lots of money on it. I actually have gotten so much inventory for free over the years, and I've actually made most of my money, spoiler, $10,000, from just people giving me things for free. So if you like this kind of content, or if you like reselling content in general, I make new videos every single week, so I would love for you to subscribe down below and make sure you like this video so I know that you like this kind of content. And if you want to leave a comment telling me how you get your inventory, I'm always curious how other people go about getting their inventory because there's so many different ways to get inventory. So comment that down below, but let's get right into the video and let me explain to you how I got all this inventory for free. So back when I first started reselling, back about 4 years ago, I started just getting things from family and friends for free. And a lot of the times they were just kind of trying to give me things because they wanted to get rid of things, or they wanted to support my business when I was, starting it. And so like family, friends, a lot of relatives, people would give me things for free and they would just be like, here, like, do what you want with this. I was gonna, throw it out or donate it, whatever they were gonna do. And at least they knew that if I was going to sell it, it would go to someone, in particular, as opposed to just ending up in like a landfill or something. So I always just took everything in, and I started selling a lot of donations that I had gotten from people, from family and friends for so long, and eventually I needed to expand to get more. But for the first like 2 years of my business, maybe 2.5 years, that is solely how I survived, just based off of donations from family and friends, and then a little bit of my own inventory mixed in that were things that I was gonna get rid of myself. And while this brought in some good money, it wasn't bringing in enough money because a lot of the brands were not like super high-end brands, because my family and friends don't love shopping high-end, and therefore they didn't really have a lot of high-end brands, which was totally fine because it was something that got me started, and I appreciate all of the items that they had given me over the time. But I needed a new way to get inventory, so I started looking for other options and I started expanding my horizons. And that was when, about 2 years ago, is when I started looking out on the app called Nextdoor for donations. So I heard about Nextdoor from other resellers. Actually, they mentioned that they had gotten inventory that way, and I looked into it because I didn't know much about the app. And basically it's an app that you can buy and sell things on. You can also talk to your community, and I thought it was a good way to engage with the people in my community that I knew that were like my neighbors, and just say, hey, if you're trying to get rid of anything, let me know. And some other resellers had told me that they would buy things, like they would buy a big bag and then they'd pay per bag. But a lot of the people that I reached out to were specifically just gonna give me the things. They didn't really want anything for them. But then there was a couple people here and there that were, asking for a couple dollars for their bag or whatever it was. But for the most part, most of the things I got off of Nextdoor were all free. And so I made a couple posts saying, looking for donations, looking to support my business, also looking to, help save the earth a little bit by reselling things. And a lot of the people that, saw my posts were really interested in giving me some of their stuff because they knew, again, it was going to end up in a good spot, and they loved the idea of secondhand shopping, and they loved the idea of things not ending up in the landfills. But there also was a couple people that were, not thrilled with the idea, and they didn't love it, and they definitely had something to say to me. But you know what? I just kind of ignored them because I knew what I was doing was a good thing, and I knew that there was people that wanted to support me. So with all that said, I ended up getting so much inventory from Nextdoor, and I spent probably about 8 months on the app just getting things from people. So I would drive out to people's houses, I would, schedule a pickup with them, and I'd meet them halfway, or even sometimes, if I was really lucky, they would drop it off at my house, which was even better. And so I would get huge bags of stuff, and I'm telling you, big garbage bags full of stuff. And a lot of these bags were full of, regular brands, mediocre mall brands, or brands that I didn't even really want to have because they don't really sell that well. But there was a good majority of the pieces that were also really good. And so I looked through every single item that I was ever donated. And even if I knew most of the bag wasn't good, I would still look through everything because you never knew what people were going to donate. And so I ended up getting a lot of really high-end pieces that were donated. And I actually kind of tell this story in a previous video, I'll link it up above, but I tell the story about how I actually got a lot of brands that were, you know, really high end, such as Chloe, Christian Dior. I even got some like Juicy Couture, I got Coach, Dooney and Burke, a lot of high end brands that people were just gonna give away or literally throw out. And that actually really kickstarted my business, and that was where I made like a good chunk of that $10,000, was just on all of that stuff that people gave me over that 8-month period. And to this day, which was, you know, that was about a year and a half ago, to this day I'm still selling some of that inventory I got, which goes to show just how much I got from all those donations. And a lot of the stuff that I got was either new with tag or really good brands or, you know, whatever it was, but it was all stuff that I could sell. And while I sold some things that probably weren't like the best brands, I also sold things that were really good brands. And so that mix of stuff really helped generate a lot of income. And again, the only cost that went into this was me either going to pick up the items or the time that I spent talking to the person in the app to coordinate it. There was no actual like physical cost to the purchase. So all of that inventory that I sold was just straight profit. And so that was what was even better to me, because a lot of these items that I would sell, whatever I made on the item was, I didn't have to subtract like how much I paid for it. And so like some of the items, like there was a Dooney and Burke handbag, I'll show it up here on the screen, a Dooney and Burke handbag that I sold for $220. It was in perfect condition, it was very like almost new, and all of that money that I made off of that was profit. And so all of those purchases later really started adding up, and along with, you know, the bigger purchases, the statement pieces, but then there was also just other brands along the way that, you know, were good too that I sold. But all of these things really helped, and I will always be grateful for those experiences that I had on Nextdoor. And I actually stopped reaching out only because I was reaching out to the same community of people, and I think it was getting to a point where it was like the same people were reaching out to me and they knew to come back to me, but there was no one else new in the area that was, you know, looking to get rid of things. So I stopped making posts on there, but I still get people that, you know, were old customers that were trying to give me things that have reached out since and said like, I have more clothes for you, or, you know, whatever it is. But I don't actually make posts for donations anymore, just because it was getting to a point where I was getting the same people that were interested. And that's why I have now moved on to my third option of getting inventory for free, which is actually Facebook Marketplace. So let me tell you about how I get a lot of stuff for free on Facebook Marketplace and how you can too. So a lot of people think of Facebook Marketplace as only the opportunity to get things that you have to pay for, because a lot of the times people list things, you know, that they want to sell. And people don't know that there are a lot of free groups out there, and I'm actually in like 5 or 6 for my local community or my town or for my state. And there's so many groups that you can join if you just kind of like type in your town or your state and then type in like free items or something. A lot of groups will probably come up depending on what area you live in. And a lot of the times I get things like people will post, they'll be like, all right, I have this item that I'm going to give away for free, or I have this bag of clothes that I'm going to give away for free. And people just kind of want you to come pick them up at the doorstep. They don't really want to deal with, you know, an interaction. So I am in all these groups, like I said, and I have the notifications turned on, which sometimes gets annoying, but like I don't really use Facebook that much for like my personal use. It's mainly used for my business now. And so I have been just, you know, checking my notifications whenever I can and checking when people post things. And this has actually worked out really well, because I've gotten a lot of stuff. Just actually like last week I picked up 6 bags of women's tops that were all new with tag. And they were all sweaters, which is actually kind of good, because then it's like, you know, I'm prepping for fall and winter inventory, which is what I want to do now anyway, because, you know, I like to think ahead to the next season. And so all of those items were new with tag, and while a lot of them were not like fabulous brands, they were just, you know, mall brands or mediocre brands, they are all new with tag, and they are all going to be straight profit. So that's kind of how I like to look at it, as, you know, maybe it's not the best brand, but it's free, and I don't have to actually spend time finding it. I can just list it. And I've actually also gotten a bunch of Coach, Dooney and Burke, and other kind of handbags on Facebook as well. A couple weeks back I picked up a bunch of bags, probably about 10 bags, from someone on Facebook who literally just wanted to get rid of them, and I was like, yeah, I'll jump on it. And some of them had to be cleaned a little bit, or some of them had like a couple flaws here and there, but again, all the items were free, And those are good brands that sell. And I know they sell well for me because they are some of my top selling brands. So I picked them up, obviously. I went out and picked them up, and I actually already sold one for $95. And again, straight profit. All of that 95 or subtract Posh fees is straight profit for me. And that is truly incredible. And another thing too is like, I always try to look out for like bags in bulk because again, it's easier to go out and get a big bag of stuff from someone. But something I noticed the other day when I was on Facebook Marketplace, scouring the pages, is somebody was listing a pair of Spanx faux leather leggings for free, which is crazy because those are something that like will sell really, really expensive. And like, I don't know, I've picked them up at thrift stores for a couple dollars here and there and then flipped them for $70, $80. And so the fact that they were free would have been a great opportunity for me to pick them up. Unfortunately for me, I saw them a little bit too late, so I missed the opportunity, but somebody else was probably very lucky out there unless they were keeping them for themselves. But you never know what you're gonna find on Facebook, and you never know what people are gonna list for free. So don't always think of it as like people are just getting rid of junk, because that's not necessarily true. There are people that are getting rid of good things. But one thing I want to know is if you're going to be getting like designer items, Coach, Dooney Burke, or even other designer brands, you got to be careful and make sure that the items are actually real, because a lot of times if they're going to give them away for free, they might be fake or whatever. So always check the tags to confirm. The Dooney and Burke ones, they have a little number on the back of the tag. Make sure that number's there. The Coach ones, you could tell on the label itself. Make sure there's no typos or anything. But just confirm, because you do not want to get into a situation where you're trying to sell an item that is fake and then you will get banned from Poshmark. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up here and you'll see what I mean by, don't list fake products or you'll get banned. But yeah, so you just want to be careful what you're picking up. But again, always keep your eye out, because you never know what people are going to get rid of. And instead of actually having to go out to the thrift store, go out to the Goodwill bins, or buy inventory online in bulk, it's so much easier, and you don't have to worry about like, well, I don't know if I'm going to make back what I paid for this, because you didn't pay anything. So of course you're going to make back what you paid for it. And so that's the one good thing I keep telling myself is like, free is free. And while it's, sometimes it might not be great, it's better than nothing, and it's better than spending time that I could have been spent doing something else. Now, I know I talk about how, you can get anything for free and how I always recommend doing that, but also I do recommend just being careful with the amount of stuff that you bring in for free, because sometimes it can get very overwhelming. If you just pick up everything like I used to do, and I used to just get bags and bags and bags, and it was full of like a bunch of stuff that like I couldn't really do anything with, you might actually spend a lot of time just kind of going through things, and it's probably going to be a waste of time. So be kind of smart with what you're picking up. Like, if someone lists something for free, don't just be like, all right, I'm interested just because they say it's free. You want to make sure it's something that you want to pick up, that you want to sell. And sometimes you don't know that, like if they give, if there's big bags of mystery clothes or whatever, but sometimes it might be worth taking that chance. And that's exactly what I did with those bags of clothes last week, where I didn't really know what they were. She just said they were women's clothes, new with tag. And I was like, well, I don't know what brands they are. I don't know if they're going to be worth anything. And when I started looking them up, they were like, they would sell from, I don't know, anywhere from $25 to $50 a piece, which is really good for something that was free. So just be careful with what you're picking up. Make sure you're picking up things that are actually going to be worth selling, and make sure that when you pick them up, what their value is going to be. So between getting free things from my family and friends, from using Nextdoor for donations, and using Facebook Marketplace to scour free stuff, I've made $10,000 from things that people were literally going to throw out, which is crazy, and I can't recommend doing this enough, especially for people that are starting out reselling, where they don't want to invest a lot in the beginning. This is like the perfect opportunity to do that. And if you don't have a lot of time on your hands to, go to the Goodwill or go thrifting, it's just an easy option, and it's honestly really nice to be able to, get a lot of inventory in and then not have to pay anything for it. So this is how I made $10,000 flipping other people's junk that they were gonna throw out. Hopefully this helped you get some ideas on how you can get inventory for free that you could also make good money off of. If you want to see the do's and don'ts of Poshmark, or what can get you banned from Poshmark, click right here. And if you want to see me answering questions that I've avoided answering as a reseller, click right here. It's got some juicy questions in there and some answers that you'll probably want to know. But until next time, I will see you then.